Hello Internet, welcome back to some more Fire Emblem Warriors DLC, and this time, just like what we've been doing before, we're going to be showcasing some of the characters from the original roster that have received a substantial boost as a result of the latest DLC pack. So this time it's going to be Anna. Yes, that's right, Anna, my favorite archer in the game, and quite possibly one of my favorite characters in the entire roster. She finally gets the damage boost that she deserves, and it's fantastic. She is one of the strongest units right now. That's partially due to the fact that she has such a high luck stat. At level 130, she gets 153 luck, but if you give her Celica's luck plus 20, she's going to have 173. This works really nicely in tandem with her high skill stats and her high speed, which lets her stay in Awakening Gauge a little bit longer. Now, the obvious thing to do with such a high luck stat would be to give her Luna and Lethality. That would be nigh on mandatory for this particular unit, but we've been using that a lot lately, and I've decided to shake things up a bit. Instead of going full-on offense, we're going to give her some defensive utility in the form of Aegis, Pavus, Soul, and Armored Blows. For those of you guys that don't know, Soul gives a HP restoration effect whenever you kill a captain, dependent on your luck stat. So since she is the highest one, you can imagine that she will be staying at full health the majority of the time. As well, Pavus and Aegis are just overall boosts to her damage that scale with luck. And finally, Armored Blows works really nicely in tandem with Critical Strike. For those of you guys, sorry, not Critical Strike, Armor Strike. For those of you guys that don't know, Armor Strike will effectively destroy your armor if you get hit multiple times or if you get knocked back. This time around though, since you can't ever get knocked back, you're going to be able to be immune from the armor strike effects while still be able to apply it to your own opponents. So what we're going to be seeing here is her unique weapon. Just like with Tiki and Sita, she will get her own, and because she's an archer, thankfully she doesn't rely on combos to do very much in terms of damage or effectiveness. Instead, we can rely more on auxiliary effects. So in this case, it's going to be Rainstorm, which works really well in tandem with Critical Focus. Critical Focus came out with the recent DLC pack, and that it reduces the amount of hits that it takes to reduce your stun gauge. Not to mention that, because of the way that Critical Focus works, it takes about 4 regular attacks to break a stun gauge, and it takes 2 hits to break a yellow stun gauge, so that's going to be very useful. Not to mention that if you are playing as an archer, you'll notice that there will be times where you're juggling your opponents to break stun gauges, but then they fall out of it. With Critical Focus, the instances of that happening will be a lot less frequent. As well, Swordbreaker is quite nice just due to the fact that most of the roster in this game are sword users, so it's a nice overall boost to damage. Armor Strike, for reasons I mentioned earlier, you cut the defense and resistance of your opponents in half, meaning that you'll do even more damage after doing a critical strike on them. Fury Builder, which was released in the previous DLC pack, will give you a boost to your damage for every 100 KOs that you get. Warrior Plus, in my opinion, is the best 5000 KO skill at the moment, just due to the fact that Parrot Plus is less useful now that Lone Wolf was released. So if you're using Lone Wolf, then this would be the thing that you're using. But if you still want to stick around with Solidarity and Parrot Plus, then feel free to do that as well. But yeah, that basically about does it. We're going to also look at her partner. We're going to pair her up with a Corrin with Draco Slayer and Solidarity. This just means that as soon as they're paired up, Anna's going to get even more defenses and even more attack power, so that's fairly obvious as to why we would want that. And the nice thing about archer units is that they can build up the attack gauge for their partner really quickly for both their warrior specials as well as just their dual strikes when you summon the enemy to expose the stun gauge, so they're very useful. Now, for those of you guys that have not noticed from the beginning of the video, this is the Haute-Claire Opus map. This one's actually very dangerous because there will be constant streams of enemies running to the allied base, so we're actually going to have a lot of fun looking at the objectives for this one. But yeah, this is like level 100 plus. Mainly just due to the fact that we have defensive skills, you're actually going to see, less damage than you would usually expect from someone with such high luck. But this is very intentional on my part. I intentionally needed these fights to be a little bit more drawn out, because if I had just gone with Luna and Lethality, then these fights would probably, like, every enemy that we ever encounter would probably die within like the first hit. And that doesn't make for good viewership, so yeah, this is mainly just for you guys, but it's really cool though, because you can build up gauge really quickly. So the thing about the Archer class all I can really say about them is that their most useful combo is the combo 5. That's 4 regular attacks followed by a strong. Part of the reason why it's so good is because it hits multiple times. If you summon help while the little projectile is shooting out, then you will be able to break the stun gauge partway through while still maintaining a juggle with your own regular attacks. Not to mention that it builds warrior gauge really quickly, and it's the fastest, has the most spread. One of my initial gripes back in vanilla Fire Emblem Warriors with the Archer class is just due to the fact that they don't actually have big AoE. They don't necessarily have like 50 KOs in one button press in comparison to the other characters that are out there. That being said though, like, they're still quite useful. I think the main thing about this particular class is just the fact that as long as you're constantly focusing on captains and focusing on objectives, there's plenty of collateral damage as a result of your attacks that will let you rack up enough KOs. It was very interesting because prior to this video, I was working on several KO skills, the ones where you have to get like 1,000, 5,000 KOs to unlock the skills, and I actually found that the amount of KOs that you were able to get as an archer, while it required many more button presses than, say, I don't know, a Pegasus Knight or a Wyvern Rider, they were still able to reach some respectable numbers, and that was the great thing about it. And that's all I can really say about this particular class, is that on this map that we're on right now, there's going to be plenty of reasons for us to kind of just camp out at the allied base. We won't be able to fight against our objectives quite yet. Like, if I was a Wyvern Rider, this would be a lot easier. But since we're going to be sticking around here, we're actually going to make massive headway into our S-rank requirements of 2,000 KOs in the first couple of minutes. It's going to be really nice. That's kind of the thing, though. This pretty much encapsulates what the archers are all about. Like I said earlier, they don't have massive AoE nukes like all the other classes, but because they have so much spread in their attacks, they will actually be able to do some pretty impressive numbers early on. Okay, what we're going to do here is we're going to create a yellow stun gauge, roll in, do a dual warrior special. If this doesn't kill Tiki, then the following critical strike will definitely kill Tiki. What we also could have done is I could have just done 2 hits with a yellow gauge and then do a critical strike, and if I gave her lethality, that would have been instant kill as well, but the dual warrior special look nice. So what's going to happen for the first couple of minutes of this particular mission, we are actually going to do this. I see a Takumi coming in. Okay, white gauge, sure. Give him the armor strike. Yeah, these captains take a little bit more hits, but thankfully it's a little bit easier to juggle with regular attacks in comparison to combos. The combo 6, this particular attack, it's a little bit tricky to do, but if you can summon help partway through, you will be able to get a nice stun gauge out of that. Here we go again. Here we go. And we got it just in time. We didn't get hit by the Ryujin's attack. Okay, so I think we can go for a little bit more. I'm looking at my base right now. I have an unkillable Xander in there, but it's still not enough insurance. There will be times where they will just overwhelm the base. These level 100 plus maps do some pretty insane amounts of damage, even if you have maxed out defensive crests. Okay, so here comes Leo. I'm going to see if I can create some distance and then set up another sniper shot. Here we go. Oh, we got it, nice. And just do a dual warrior special. Usually I'm all for just, again, breaking stun gauges and killing them, but since we don't have lethality, it will take a little bit longer. I actually think this would be faster. Assuming this kills, of course. Should. I mean, we're using a tank for crying out loud. Okay, so I think our base is doing okay for the moment, so now we're going to go ahead and just clean up the areas around it. So, yeah, again, combo 5 would probably be the most useful one. Combo 6, if you feel like just mixing things up, then feel free to throw a combo 6 out there like this, and then maybe throw your partner in there, especially if you have large groups like that. Mainly just due to the fact that you're hitting so many times that when you expend your partner's meter, you're still going to refill it by the time the animation is finished. So here we go again. If only these were AoEs. Unfortunately, the only time you can get AoE for your critical strikes is through doing the doing the yellow stun gauges. In comparison to the tome users, it's a lot easier to create that with tome users, just due to the fact that you build up the meter by fighting enemies, whereas this time around you have to sort of stay still. Still can do it though, it's just that it's not as easy to do, but it is quite useful when you're fighting against captains though, like you saw me doing earlier. Okay, so yeah, like I said, if you ever want to do a combo 6, make sure you summon your help as it's going on. So here we go again, summon Korin, and yeah, even though we weren't able to do a critical strike, we were still able to build up another attack. Alright, so I see another shadow coming up. Like, this is pretty much free range. Like, all the danger of this particular mission has basically been subdued due to the fact that we camped out at the allied base for a bit. That's gonna be the main thing. If you try to just go around and do whatever, then yeah, then you will be overwhelmed. They will just sneak up on your base and steal everything. Okay, so here we go again. Yeah, summon your help midway through so that we always have some uptime. Yeah, so yeah, combo 6 is quite nice. It's just that it doesn't have as many applications in comparison to a combo 5. Also, there's a shadow here, but we're gonna try to farm up some KOs before I run away from this shadow. And there's a bunch of captains over down here, so we'll go get these ones. We actually could just do dual warrior special to get all of these guys at once. Let's see. So basically that's going to be the entire thing over here. Like I said earlier, the thing about archers is that if you want to get a high KO count with them, it's just a matter of focusing on your objectives. It's actually quite nice in comparison to other ones where you kind of just feel the need to run away. What's our allied base doing, by the way? Our allied commander seems okay. Allied base seems okay. Okay, if you want, let's yeah, we'll backtrack. How about that? Okay, or actually, okay, we'll temporarily switch out of Anna to... Okay, hang on, we're gonna switch to Camilla for a second. Things seem okay at the allied base. Oh, there is one person here. Sorry to interrupt the Anna mission to suddenly secure an objective. Here we go. I think this should be enough to KO. And also, we've gained quite a few KOs from this one too. I mean, obviously, for those of you guys that are playing at home right now, one of the most optimal ways just to do things in this game is just to constantly be switching between your characters. Okay. So, okay, you know what? We're gonna grab this base, because we have enough KOs, so we should be able to just go to the enemy base, then finish things off. So yeah, look at that combo 4. We don't even have to worry about stun gauges as much, but if we had Luna, that would be an insane amount of damage because of how many times it hits. Okay, so that should be alright. The Shadow's weak. Why don't we also get the Shadow? Shadow's gonna come our way. We can create a yellow gauge. Here we go. And yeah, I'll probably do this for the enemy commander as well. Again, if we had lethality, that would have been instant kill because of how high Anna's Lux stat is. But since we're not using that though, this is fine too. Also, like, one of the things too about this defensive build that we're using with Aegis, Pavis, Armored Blows, like, obviously the most optimal way to play is not to just face tank everything, but actually dodge. But the thing is though, with this build, you're able to be a little bit more safe with that. Oh, okay, that still hit. It's just that I had the Armored Strike, I had the Armored Blow. So here we go. I had the Armored Blow. So, okay, so Armored Blow also applies while you're charging up. That's always useful to know. And, yeah, we're gonna finish off with a Dual Warrior Special. Here we go. And that should be a KO. Honestly, like, at any difficulty, if you can Armor Strike your enemy and then follow it up with a Dual Warrior Special, that should be insta-kill for every single enemy in the game, provided that you have semi-decent weapons. Like, if you're using a Bronze Sword, it might not work, or using a Bronze Bow in Anna's case. Also, I appreciate that she has, like, gold coins on her weapon once you give her Opus. Looks really, really cool. Anyways, yeah, that basically does for Anna. Anna is currently one of the stronger units right now, mainly just due to the fact that, yeah, the super high luck, it's really interesting to see that luck is actually very impactful on a character's damage output. So, for newer players that are trying to figure out who does the most damage, or you want to have someone that can pack a little bit more punch in their attacks, I would recommend looking not just at their strength or magic, but also their skill and luck. I actually think that skill and luck are more important than those other stats, mainly just due to the fact that warrior specials do the most damage, and Luna lethality is just a literally deadly combo. So yeah, that's gonna be it for Anna. I'm so glad to see that my favorite character, one of my favorite characters in this game, has gotten the treatment that she deserves, and it's been a long time coming, and I cannot wait to see that in a future DLC pack. So guys, thank you very much for joining me on this little adventure of ours, and I will see you in the next video. Take care, everyone.